We've been talking about these spiritual paradoxes. Effortless versus fully devoted. Vigilance and yet not concern. So it can sound strange. No? How does one be fully vigilant and yet effortless? Is it? So what is the difference between being vigilant and the checker guy? The checker guy is the most oppressive, especially in the lives of spiritual seekers, where everything it hears in satsang, then it wants to create a report card and keep checking, am I this, am I that, am I doing like this, am I doing well, am I doing badly? Then the masters would say that, no, you must leave this checker guy, be unconcerned, and yet watch, be fully vigilant. So what is the difference between checking constantly and being vigilant? So checking is mostly based on the conclusions that we draw. Checking depends on the report card that we make. Vigilance is more alive. It's just there's a gravitational pull of Maya. There's a natural longing to be in the heart. So vigilance is to be aware, be vigilant to the push-pull. So a simple example could be, for example, in this moment, how do you choose to spend your time? So Maya calls you into what you want to do. Your heart calls you into God's will. So if you keep determining conceptually, oh, like this, oh, not like this, not like this, then we're going to get more and more caught up in the mind. But to just allow yourself to be centered in your heart and to be moved by Him. Not go for the temptation of the mind, not into these constructs of the mind, is to remain vigilant. I'm being vigilant for all of you. You also have to be, but I'll check around. What is the premise of the exercise? The premise of the exercise is the opposite of what we usually hear. The mind, the premise of the exercise is that your being is always one step ahead of the mind. The mind is too slow, and to involve yourself with identity and the mind, you have to take a step back, you have to look back. So stay here, stay here, stay here, stay here. Don't look back at the mind. And by looking back, I mean just, yeah, what? Huh? I'm too sleepy today to do this. Something. You see, so that slows you down in a way. So the idea is to remain fresh. And fresh doesn't mean involved with the content showing up in this moment, not involved with the content of perceptions, just empty even of that, allowing it to flow through, but not judging anything at all. Can we do like that? So no looking back at the mind. You're here. Doesn't matter what the mind is saying. You're here. 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 You don't have to solve anything. You don't have to fix anything. You're not doing it well or badly. You're here. Calm. So, see? Calm. Out of the mental tangle, whatever it is offering you, just step out. And for a while that will seem more enticing, interesting, something to solve. Maybe feeding you some sort of juice of identity, something to latch on to. Just let it go. Just let it go. You're right here. The mind is trying to catch up with you. It's trying to catch you. It's chasing you from behind. You're organically, naturally much faster than it. It can't catch you if you remain empty, if you remain here. Yeah, come. Don't waste time with anything it has to offer. It's not worth it. As important as it may seem. It's just putting you into a bucket of definition, saying, this is me, my life is like this is who I am. None of it is true. You're a fresh being. God's presence is alive in you, fresh right now. Stay. You feel the gravitation like a pull from the mind, just you're way ahead of it, much ahead of it. Don't have to worry. There you now. Fast. No slowing down. The mind is too slow, it is too gross. You're much more subtle. Like the flash, you escape. It tries to catch you. And you've already gone, it can't catch you. Unless you turn around and look at it and say, what are you saying? What do you want? Then it may catch you. You are not to turn. You're here. Yes. Stay. There's nothing valuable for you. Stay ahead of the game. Doesn't seem to be working as well on the Zoom. Okay, everyone, here, out of it, wherever you start. Here, come on. Come out of whatever is caught you in tangle. Doesn't mean anything. Now, here and now, fresh and alive, fresh being right now. Stay. Here, here. Come back to your freshness, to your aliveness right now. Yeah? Yeah? Snap, snap, snap. Unimportant, uninteresting, remain unconcerned. So this is how you be vigilant. It's actually effortless, it's natural. Initially it may seem to take some effort. See? Getting the difference between this and the checker guy is you were checking, oh, I'm doing so badly, I'm never going to become free, I'll never find God. It becomes more and more difficult. It can seem like vigilance, but it's taken you completely away from being vigilant. You're just mentally concluding. See? So remain empty like this. Yeah. You're getting a sense of what I'm saying? This is how you are at your most innocent. Led by God. See? So don't try to know. The trying to know is troublesome. Innocence is not trying to know. To remain simple, to remain empty. Yeah?
Actually, Father, this exercise is really nice. It's kind of an empowering one.
Yeah.
Because otherwise.
Yes, but don't go there right now.
Okay, no going.
No. Never actually, not even later. Because the minute you start to frame, you see, it seems like a helpful framing initially, but soon we are in the frame rather than in the empty. Because we feel naked without our conclusions. Like, but क्या हो रहा है? फिर हो क्या रहा है फिर? You know, so then you say, this is what it's doing. So it seems to provide some crutches, some benefit, but actually it can be very tricky because then that becomes an expectation, it becomes a conclusion. So then you can make a conclusion this time that it went very well. The next time it happens, you'll say, oh, but this time it's not going so well. Or last time it went well. So don't make any conclusions about well or not. Still from the mind. So don't go there. It's empty. Yeah. And be careful of the yes, but. Yes, but that but is like one dhadam. You need to buy into the doubt, do. Yes, but I can't always live like this. I can't go to work like this. I can't. Then those frames, those narratives will become compelling. And everything can happen from here. Whatever needs to happen can happen from here. So don't have an expectation that I want to be like this, but then work should happen, or work should not happen, or this should happen, this should not happen. Because that will burden it. Be empty. His will means it is not our concern what happens or not. That is to live in His will. So are you seeing how vigilance, innocence, living in His will, all of that is actually like that. Just be supremely innocent, don't understand. The conclusion offers itself like a very juicy chocolate. No? Is that, finally I found some meaning in that whole process that we did. This is what it means. I am like this. So when it comes like that and really close, and if you notice yourself, just because that ball is better dropped than caught. This is the only game like that.
So, in the
We can't be sure about anything from the past. So it is now. Now where are you coming from?
this I reported from memory.
So okay, now leave that. But don't conclude that I can't speak then.
No.
Because we don't know. No, that's the experiment. It needs patience, it needs faith, but not like I'm being patient, patience. I'm having faith. Okay? Being aware, of course, is beyond any of that. You see, but the way we use aware in the world, yes, to be attentive in a way, but not really about the content of the world. Because we can get then stuck in, this is keeping me in the moment, so I have to just grasp at the content of the world. You see? And that is, it's not about this. It's about getting the difference. Just allowing the content to flow through. But you are not trying to use it, you're not trying to use the content as an anchor. You're not trying to use the content as an anchor. Like if I just keep saying what's here, then I won't get involved in the mind. Okay? So how to stay away from the mind? So many people get into that trap of trying to be in the present moment in that way. That I can just, but you see that is very tiring for your system, isn't it? You try it for some time, it seems to work, but you get tired, you want to sleep after some time. At least I do. So I can't do it that way. It has to be from a place of ease. and to allow all these, the stream of perception to flow through. You try to hold on to that, then it seems like another activity that we have to grasp. Yeah. So the sheer open and empty is like this, pure perception. But unconcerned about the perception. Pure perception is unlabeled, unnarrated perception. Pure perception doesn't mean I'm only perceiving. That is a mistake that some of us make, or in the way it is said, maybe that mistake can happen. That when we say pure perception, it can seem like, oh, I'm only perceiving. It's just, the perception remains pure, empty of labels, unadulterated perception. But I'm being or awareing more than I'm perceiving. Perception is just happening naturally in the process.
So, Father, you mentioned, as it is said in the past, a lot of sages have talked about it. A lot of times when you're sitting, you can almost see the I, your ego, in perception. It's talking, it's doing things, and you can begin to separate that is not you, right? And you can hear the birds, you can hear the sounds, you can hear everything. But somewhere at the back, this phrase, I am, that you read and everybody's talked about it, you have talked about it. It is the I there, even though you know it is not the I, your ego I, still for me seems to put you in a loop. There is still the I, right? Versus in pure perception, you're letting everything flow and you don't even want this I business. So maybe if you can talk a little bit more about why do the great ones say I am that I am. And for me, it's just, right when you're sinking in, your mind throws this, okay, this is the I am, and then you go into another loop. So I just wanted you to talk about it.
Yes, I hear your question. So let's look at for a moment, continuing to be empty like we are. Like, how would I do the play acting of being an individual? The ego is the idea of I am something. There is no boundless ego. So, if I was to now, from this emptiness, take on a boundary to be true about me. You see? So let's try and do that experiment which you said, that you can see the ego play out. You see? And maybe you notice that the minute you return to the seeing rather than the involvement with the boundary, then the strands of the ego are not so strong anymore. They start to thin out, and maybe for that moment, maybe even at a distance. No? So now I'm boundless. You see? Now, when I say I am boundless, for example, you see, who am I referring to? We are not saying Ananta is boundless. Ananta obviously can't be boundless. You see? Ananta is the name for this body-mind. Yeah? And those of you who consider Ananta the Guru is just a name for your inner Sadguru presence. You see? So when it is said that I am that or I am boundless, is it referring to the separate individual, entity, because the ego is the idea of an entity. Okay? So why do the sages then say that I am? Bhagwan said something very important on this matter. He said that till I am, no trouble. When I am something, that is when the trouble starts, and by definition then that is where the ego starts. But unidentified beingness is that same pointer from the sages saying just be, or just to remain empty of identification, empty of attachment. You see? So got a sense of it. One is a made up me, that I am so good, or I am so bad, I am enlightened, or I am bound. These are boundaries. Every construct that we take to be true about ourselves then becomes a boundary. Okay? It's like saying that if I give you a task that for the next 2 hours, just imagine yourself to be somebody who lives in Barbados or something like that. You see, try to bring attention to thoughts about living on the beach in Barbados or something for 2 hours, and give that identification a name, gym, whatever, and you keep building on, oh, my family was like this, they came from the Bahamas, I need to take a holiday. But so then in 2 hours, there will be some identification, some conditioning around the Jim who is from Barbados. You see? So it's like, in a way, saying you watch a movie which you find the character very relatable, and then the movie is over, and then somebody comes and tells you, oh, in the sequel of this movie, this one dies. So then you say, oh, that hurt. How? You see? Because there's identification, there's conditioning around that identity, so that I am something less than. So I am Bala, I am a father, I am at work, I am, this is my money, this is my house, this is my family. All of these attributes then become the conditions which define the ego. So the ego is basically a set of conditions being believed in by, we'll come to the by in a moment, but for the moment it is fine to say that if there was not a single condition being bought, there is no separation, there is no ego. So empty of that, and that is in a way the exercise that we're doing now also. The beauty of this exercise is unattachment, non-grasping, is that it doesn't matter whether you have 1,000,000 conditions or you have only 2 or 1. You see, when you're empty of all of that. So as high as the highest sage in that moment, we are. You see, so whether you're Bhagwan or you're just little old me, when you're empty of conditions, you are the same. You see? Now, this part is clear for everyone? So the ego is a name for attachment or belief in our conditioning, and then that when we are oppressed in that, when we are in the mental prison of this conditioning, of these limitations, then when our expression seems to operate under that burden, then we say that person is being egoic, or I was being egoic, or I am being egoic. Okay? So this is when we are egoic. Now, we just said that empty of all of that, we are the same. Okay? Now, what is that sameness? Have we ceased to exist? We haven't ceased to exist. Even perception is here. You're hearing, you could be empty, you could not be identifying with the body, and yet the centrality of this visual perspective may continue, all of this world may be perceived, and yet you're not identified, you're not being egoic. So that being, empty of being something, is called the I am. You see, so that is the I am because I am. Even this, somebody says, so who's perceiving? Now, unless we become very intellectually Advaitin, like with the innocence of a child, you ask them, so who's looking at this hat? Or who sees this hat? They will say, I am. You see? Even before, like a very young age, when they just start to speak, 11 months, 12 months, what age do they start to speak? I'm becoming old. So, they will respond in those innocent ways, you see? But empty of any conditions or pride or sense of ownership in that moment. You see? So, empty of all identification. If I was to say who's aware of this perception, you say, I am aware. You see? But that I am is not adulterated by conditions of pride, of unworthiness, of any of these ideas. So you're empty of the ego and you're just being. And that being is whose being? It belongs to I. But that I is the I of reality, is it? The I of awareness. So that pure awareness, which is aware, it doesn't change even in sleep state. Then the adjunct of am wakes up within that, and in the light of this I amness, then the world appears. You see? And the world appears, then all these play of light and sound happens, and also in the play of light and sound, one plays that of these mental constructs, language in our head, which is offering us these proposals that I am something, I should be better, I can learn this, I can. So attaching to those, as harmless as they may seem initially, like I like green coconut better than brown coconut. It may seem like, what's so egoic in that? You see? But notice that, it happened because when I was a child, I had this tree. You see, so the whole narrative is stuck in the most harmless seeming notions. So to remain empty, innocent of even that, is to remain empty of ego. You see? So this I, which is pure awareness, then gives birth to this am, which is pure being, I am. It is I am. See, nobody says, I was asleep, but then somebody woke up. They say, I woke up. It's most natural to say, I woke up. Because it is the I itself in its manifest aspect as being, as am, which arises, which suddenly the light comes on. Nobody knows how, nobody knows when, nobody knows why. It just comes. This am comes. You see? Now in this am, imagine a world in which it was impossible to identify. This world just wakes up. Everything is. But then some may have a complaint against the game designer saying, it's nice, visually nice, but it's not relatable. You see, like we see many movies, we call them art films or something. You see, which may look, even some of them don't look visually nice, but suppose it's visually very compelling, but it didn't have a narrative you could resonate with. You see, so our primitive, lame sounding theory is that entertainment without relatability was not enough juice for God playing this game. God said, let me make it so that when I play the game, not only do I have the body of James Bond or whoever, I also have a narrative that I have been given this mission, I have to rescue this country or this prime minister of this country, I have to save the world in this way. You see? And in that, picking up the narrative, this I am takes up the idea that I am James Bond or whatever. In the same way, we are playing the same game. I am Ananta, I am Bala, I am this, I am that. And now, to not identify, to have no narrative, no mission, then what happens? The narrative of the game still continues. Like you stop paying attention to the subtitles doesn't mean the subtitles of the movie will stop. They may stop at one point, but initially it will seem like the narrative continues. But that narrative is designed to make you identify as the character in the game, as the character around which the game seems to be centered, out of whom you seem to be perceiving this world. But that is the same for the dream, that we seem to be perceiving a world out of the central perspective of this character. So to be free from that identification, from that one, is to be free from the ego. But the I, so that is why the sages have said, Bhagavan said, I removes the I and yet remains the I. So that is impossible for the mind to understand, isn't it? It removes the false I, the I am something, the egotism is removed, and yet the true I, the Nirguna Brahman, that is our true reality, remains. That is why it's called self-realization. It's still the self, but it's not a limited self, it is not an egoic self. The difference between big S self and small S self is very big. Got a sense of what I'm saying?